administration 24 hours a day. The number is 1 800 662 HELP or 1 800 662 4357. They work around the clock and will help you find what you need.
Hey, everybody, I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you're on the lifeboat. People, we're really happy to have you here tonight. I want to thank everybody that tuned in this morning. Hopefully I didn't scare anybody, with the I quit thing. There really is, it's sort of the backbone of everything we do here, people. It really is, and it was fun. I'm not going to lie to you, because you all know that about 99% of you loved that. And then there's at least 1% out there that might not have been so happy that that's the direction I took it in, but that was fun too. People, got a lot of good stuff to talk about. First off, tomorrow night at this time, I will be talking to Mr. Joe Birdwell, and we will be doing a update on what sobriety at 30 days looks like for a gentleman with 17 years of methamphetamine use, and what 30 days clean looks like. And he's been just awesome in terms of letting us take this ride with him. This is not something that you see very often. It's a very unique thing that we're doing here on the lifeboat, and it's really a testament to how much Joe is willing to use his growth, his story, his struggle. Even if things are great, people, how the first 3 to 6 months of anything is. It's and it really is a difficult thing for anyone to have to cope with, and for him to agree to open up to everyone. I think it's really an absolutely beautiful thing that he's willing to share this with all of us, to take us along on that ride. That's again just a real testament to who he is. So tomorrow night at 6 o'clock on the West Coast, we are going to be interviewing Joe Birdwell. So please, people, I am asking you to tune in for that one. That's not one that you want to miss. If you saw the thumbnail tonight, people, we're talking about All In. For those of you who tune into ESPN, right, and from time to time watch the Texas Hold'em World Series, the World Series of Poker, there's actually a lot of people don't realize that when they play the World Series of Poker, it's not just Texas Hold'em. There are a whole host of different games that you can play at the World Series. You can play Omaha, you can play all of these different games, and then they have a combination of games that is sort of the pinnacle for people who are really poker players, is where you play something that they call horse, which is Hold'em, Omaha, Raz, and Stud. They play all of them. But people, what makes Hold'em unique, and is really what put poker on the map for the world. Everybody knows poker, and people have been playing it for years, but when they started to play Hold'em, something really different happened. Once that got into the public eye, so to speak, it really changed the entire game. And the reason was, normally when you play poker, there's a series of rules concerning how the betting structure goes. And because of that, you're limited with the amount of risk that you can take. When Texas Hold'em became popular, what really made that game something was because if you felt like you had the hand, if you felt like what you were holding was something that was better than most, if you thought it was a winning hand, then you had the ability to force the other players to make a decision for every single thing that they have, right? Everything they have on the table is all going to have to go in that pot. You're making a decision. Is it all, or am I not going to bother? And people, when you start this process of sobriety, you can go and start playing it like you're like you're playing 2-5 Texas Hold'em, or if you're playing a structured game where you're only giving it a little bit, or you're only coming in and you're going to sort of put your foot in the water and you're going to test to see whether or not this is something you want to do. And I'll tell you right now, people, you're going to fail. It's not something that you can do any other way but shoving every single chip you've got into the middle of the table. Um, One of two things will happen in Texas Hold'em. You're going to win it all, right? Or you're going to fall flat on your face. The beautiful thing about cards, very much like the beautiful thing about sobriety, is even if you fall flat on your face, you're guaranteed to get dealt another hand instantly. Providing you're continuing to sit and get back up and do what you do, it's the same thing in sobriety. We have a group of people right now. I jokingly started referring to them as the Fortnite triplets, because all of them sort of came out and started to talk about their sobriety, and all of them sounded off on day 14. So here we had three people. One had just started the journey. The other two had stumbled and then gotten back up and dusted themselves off. And now people, what they've done is they've shoved all of their chips into the middle of the table. As you get going on this, you really have to ask yourself how much you want sobriety, how much you want a change of life. And the funny thing is, sobriety is a word, right? It really is. The things that it represents means something different to everybody. It can mean not doing drugs, right? That's probably the way most people on the planet define the word sobriety, is not being under the influence of anything. But it is so much more than that. Especially, I mean, sobriety, that's a great word for people who drink occasionally. You're either drinking or you're sober, right? Tonight, I'm going to be sober. I am not going to drink. For someone who is on the same boat that all of us are, for someone who has been addicted, for someone who has allowed chemicals, habits, whatever the case may be, to literally define who you are and to define the decisions that you make, so that your life is being dictated by a substance. For those individuals, there is no option of sober meaning tonight I'm not going to drink. What sober means for those people has to be a complete change of lifestyle, a complete change of everything that you were. As an addict, your focus is always on you. More than anything in the world, your only focus is on you, and nothing else in life is important, right? That's it. You are the center of your own universe, and the only thing that matters is the next shot, the next drink, the next snort, whatever the case may be. That is something that the addict has to change. It's not enough to stop drinking. It's not enough to stop doing drugs. You have to restructure yourself in such a way that everything about you changes. Because if you don't do that, what you end up with is somebody who lives the same lifestyle without chemicals. And we've talked about this before. What it does is it sets you up for a life of misery, truthfully. And we all know people who have quit doing drugs or have quit alcohol and are absolutely miserable. You heard, if you stuck around here long enough, you heard my brother Johnny tell the story of the guy that he went out to dinner with, and he's done it many times. And every time the guy orders a drink, he says, "Get me a Jack and Coke, hold the Jack." Every time this guy gets something to drink, the fact that he can't get it with booze in it is something that is grating on his nerves. It is nails on a chalkboard to this person. And I know who he's talking about. Within 25 to 35 minutes of the night, he's going to point out to you, every single person in the room, what they're drinking, right? Alcohol is still the center of this person's universe. Unfortunately, he doesn't drink it. If the center of your universe is still going to be your drug of choice or your bad habit of choice, what's the point of getting rid of it? I mean, at least the alcoholic is happy for a period of time each day. The dry drunk is miserable all the time. So in order to live a life that is going to be your best life, in order to survive in this world and be happy in the process, you have to really shove every chip you've got into the center of the table. And that doesn't mean quitting. It means taking a really serious look at who you are as a user. You've heard me tell the story of my particular journey, and my journey doesn't have to be yours. There are 5,000 ways to get to sobriety, to get to a life without doing drugs. There are as many ways as there are people. But the one thing that is a constant is you're either going to put to bed the life that you had, or you're just going to quit using. If you put to bed the life that you have, you can be a happy individual. You can party, right? Your life can be a party. But if all you're going to do is get rid of the chemical, then that's simply not going to happen. And we all know someone like that. I'm not using illustrations that you people can't understand. Everyone has met the person who gets sober and then hates the world because of it. You know, I had a relative that did it for 30 years. I mean, he was just the most miserable person in the world. And every time you saw him, you know, he was not literally, but figuratively just white knuckling it. He was going to get through that day, damn it. People, that's no way to live. That's absolutely no way to live. So, as I said, my journey, you people are familiar with. I took a piece of paper and I wrote down the reasons that I was going to quit. Now, a couple of guys are going to pop up in the comment section right now and tell me that you can't quit for this person, that person, this. Look, man, give it a rest. You absolutely can use the people that you love as the driving force for why you quit. Sure, you're doing it for yourself. But at 2:00 in the morning, when you're shaken and you're picking up the telephone to call somebody to bring dope over, the fact that you're doing it for yourself doesn't stop you from making that phone call very often. I tried it for decades. And then I developed a relationship with my daughter for the first time ever. She had been kicked out of my life. And when I had a chance to build a relationship with my daughter, something changed. When the time came that I could pick up a phone and dial the phone, the first thing I thought about was the disappointment that my child was going to experience if Dad went back to prison. The disappointment that, you know, my daughter was going to experience when all of these people, you know, started to tell her that we were right about your dad, weren't we? Look at him. That was my why. And that was the first page. And she wasn't the only thing on there. There were an awful lot of things on there that, you know, that were my why. My dad was on there, you know, but a lot of family and a lot of things that are so personal that I won't share them here. But there was a list of why. The second page, people, is what I'm talking about when I'm saying you need to shove every single chip you got into the center of the table. I'm talking about page 2. For me, page 2 was what you often read about in the 12 steps, where you take a searching moral inventory. I did that. And I was viciously honest with myself for the first time in 40 some odd years. I didn't try to BS myself. I started to list exactly who I was. I was a thief. I was a liar. I was a con man. I was somebody that couldn't be trusted. I was an employee that was going to call in sick. And if I could steal tools from the job site, I most assuredly was going to do that. If there was a way that I could come back an hour and 20 minutes late from work, from lunch and not get caught for it, or have somebody else punch me in, I was just a rampantly dishonest individual. And I'm not talking about sitting down with a pencil and a piece of paper and in 10 minutes making a list of who you are. This literally was a process that took me a week. It was a moral inventory. This was something that I dissected myself. And at the end of that week, I'm telling you, people, I was hating myself. I really was. I was absolutely hating myself. I was overwhelmed with guilt. I was overwhelmed with a feeling that I just was not a good person, and I never had been. And the next stage for me, and I have said many times before that I was guided through this process, right, by a guy that I called Q. And he never told me there was a page 3 coming, right? This is just a process that I was doing. And when I got to the end of it, I was like, man, this sucks. You know what I mean? Like, I can't believe you got me doing this, man. And, you know, at that juncture, when he said, now, you know, you know everything about yourself that you hate. I said, yeah. He said, you know, are there things about you that you like? I said, not particularly. You know, I mean, truthfully, there was not a lot there. It was tough. And he said, well, then go design the person that you want to be. And it may sound silly to you people, but that's exactly what I did. I sat down and I designed the person that I wanted to be. And I listed it right from the start, right at the top of the page on down. And it was amazing how much it corresponded, almost line to line, with the things that I had written on the first one, right? I wanted to be an honest person. I wanted my word to be my bond. I wanted to be in a situation where if I said, I'm going to do this, people knew I was going to do it. If I said, I'll be there, I was going to be there. I wanted to be somebody that somebody could count on. I wanted to be the person that, if somebody was in a bind for any reason, I was the first name they thought of when they picked up the telephone to call for help. That's really who I wanted to be. And I wanted to make sure that I was there for my family. And I started to put this list together. And when I got to the end of it, I took it, put it back on the table, and then I started to look at it and put it into some form of an order. Because with all of these things that I wanted to be, it seemed like there were some that were far more important than others. So I started rearranging this and putting those on the top of the list. And when I was done with page 3, I shoved every single flipping chip of my life into the center of the table and made a decision that no matter what happened in my life, I was not going to let a chemical keep me from being the cat on page 3. It wasn't going to happen. And no matter what that meant, no matter what form that took, I knew what the enemy was. And for me, plain and simple, the enemy was heroin, right? Or any of the other, opiates that had been dragging me down my entire life. That had to go. That had to be the focus of my life. I had to be all in. And in the process of the next couple of years, I got really good at becoming the person that I wanted to be. It didn't happen overnight, people. Nothing that is worth anything happens overnight. But as I talked about in this morning's video, when I said great acts are made up of small deeds, I started to learn what that meant. I started to learn that by doing the teeniest of things and doing them consistently and over and over and over again, that I was able to start putting together, who Tommy was going to be. And where I'm going to talk about, people, right? How long have we been together? I'm going to mention that when the sun comes up, and I watch the sun come up over the mountain every single morning, I have 3 or 4 really silly, insignificant things that most people would probably laugh at that are so important to me because it literally sets the tone for everything I'm going to do that day. And they were 3 things that you could not count on me doing when I was the page 2 person, right? There was no chance that was going to happen. I was going to make the bed. And I was going to do a hell of a job at it, by the way. I think the average drill sergeant would be happy with how I make the bed. The next thing I do, I go in and I brush my teeth. And then I spend time, with my God. I spend time for religion is a big part of my life. It doesn't have to be a part of yours. It doesn't. But something has to take a structure in your life. Whatever you do when you get up in the morning and you start to put these things together. I saw somebody in the comments section, I can't really follow you people while I'm doing this. It's almost impossible. But I saw someone that was talking about the fact that he had been in prison. You're familiar with the term programming, right? If you've done any time, people, convicts will all talk to one another about, are you on a good program? Are you doing the same thing basically day in, day out to eat up the time that you're in there? Sobriety is no different. You got to get a program that you're working. For some people, that means going to meetings 2, 3 times a day. And if that's what works for you, God bless you. If that's what's working and that's what's going to keep you sober, then I'm more happy than anything. I really don't. I don't care what that form, your program takes. I just want that these people who are making an effort to change their life realize that there's nothing haphazard about this. We spend more time planning dates with girlfriends than we do planning our sobriety. And folks, that's downright stupid. We come to this ridiculous concept that if I just set down the beer, right, well, then I'm sober. All I got to do is just, I quit drinking this stuff. I'm fine. People, that's not all in, right? That's you not consuming alcohol. That's not what we're talking about. When I'm talking about all in, I'm talking about fundamentally changing who you are, fundamentally changing the person who was getting high. And you will find for many of you, not all of you, but you'll find for many of you that the addiction is a symptom of a much larger problem. However, you're never going to figure out what that problem is if you're loaded. You're never going to figure out what that problem is if you're tweaking. You're never going to figure out what that problem is if you've got a straw in your nose, a needle in your arm, a beer in your hand. You understand? In order to start looking at the driving factors behind what is making you feel the need to be loaded your entire life, you're going to have to cut the chemical out of your life so that you can begin to focus on who and what you are. Figure out what it is that is driving you. But trust and believe, people, that's not going to happen while you're loaded. So when we talk about shoving all in, putting every chip you got in the middle of the table, we're talking about getting that chemical out of your body and out of your life long enough for your brain to start firing on all 8 cylinders. That's going to be a different thing for every person, and it's going to be a different thing for every chemical. Guaranteed. You know, how long have you been doing what you're doing? If you've been shooting heroin for 2 decades, your brain is not going to snap back in 24 hours so you can sit down and go, let's get this together. I want to get this figured out. No, you're going to be it's going to be one of those situations that there's going to be a period of time while the chemistry in your brain chemistry gets back on course. Now, I've said many times on the show that the addiction that has been studied the most since this whole thing became a science of sorts, since the medical community and the scientific community really started taking a hard look at addiction. The one that they really, really have studied most is alcoholism. For that reason, they can tell you that for the most part, and nothing is etched in stone, people, everyone is a little bit different, but they say that at about 14 days for the average alcoholic, 14 days without alcohol and the stabilization of the brain is in full swing. Doesn't mean you're 100% there, but it means you're deep into that process. For some people, that might be 9 days. For other people, it might be 21. But I promise you, if you're a drinker, by the end of that first 30 days, the drink is no longer working on your brain and what your brain does. The thought processes that are taking place in your brain are no longer affected by alcohol. That isn't to say that the desire for alcohol will not still be working on your brain, because obviously, people, it's going to work on your brain for the rest of its life at some point, right? I mean, at some level. But there is booze in there causing trouble and making it difficult for you to think. By the time you got 30 days off of that stuff, you are in good shape. Now you really can start taking a very serious look at the issues that caused you to want to be drunk all the time, or the issues that make you want to do whatever it is that you do. I had a friend that used to talk about heroin all of the time. He was in recovery, and he used to say that the needle takes things away. The needle doesn't give you anything. It doesn't matter what you think. All it does is take things away. And in our group sessions, people would say, no, you know what? It gave me confidence. And he'd say, no, it took away, fear, and it took away social anxiety. It didn't give you anything. And the truth of the matter is, addiction in general doesn't give you squat. It takes things away. So the question becomes, for the average person shoving their chips into the center of the table, what so badly in your life needed to be taken away that you were willing to drug yourself around the clock 365 days a year? If you don't answer that question, you're not going to get to where you want to be. And make no mistake, people, whether you believe this or not, there are people for whom, and this is a new phenomenon. In fact, when you start studying this stuff in textbooks, this is a new phenomenon. But there are people for whom there really are not a whole lot of underlying issues. There are people who are fairly content in life, and things were fun, and they weren't, overcoming childhood trauma, and they weren't, dealing with social, stigmas and things that they just started partying. And in the beginning, it was just a fun release. I smoked a few joints and we hung out with friends, and it caused you to giggle, and, it just was fun. And then somebody introduced, a little bit of blow, or somebody brought in some pills. And people, you can party, right? In the air quotes version of the term party, until the next thing you know, you have a dependency. So am I telling you that as you start to work through this, that obviously mom and dad beat you, or there's no reason you'd be drinking? It's nothing like that. But I'm telling you that there is something that you wanted taken away. Whatever that is, you need to at least spend time trying to determine exactly what it is that caused you to be the addict. And when you start to get a handle on that, people, then you can truthfully start to move from where you are to where you want to be. Every day in sobriety, there are going to be people who preach this can't be done except by yourself. You're the only person that can help you get sober. I agree with that 100%. I do. However, when you start to take apart the issues that are going on in your life, if there are people around who can talk to you about it, it becomes an easier process. Make no mistake, there is a reason that the gold standard is group therapy. There is a reason that the gold standard is group therapy, because finding other people who are in the same boat works. We didn't invent it, people. I assure you. It was invented by far smarter individuals than myself and Mark. I assure you, far smarter people. However, knowing what works and then trying to maybe take it into the new millennium, which is really what we do on the boat, right? We're using a time-tested and true method of addicts leaning on one another, sharing stories with one another, supporting one another, and we're bringing it into the modern age. That's all we're doing, right? It's all we're doing. And social media, truthfully, is the best platform in the world for that. The only problem is there are a lot of people out there who don't see that and would rather just disrupt than see people be happy or sober, right? That's our job. We work on that. Your job, people, is to shove every chip into the middle of the table. As I said this morning, the easiest part is to just say those two words, I quit. From there, you start coming up with the minutia and the day-to-days and the things that you have to do. I would greatly recommend writing a goodbye letter, putting a punctuation on the last part of your life and highlighting the next part of your life, starting it out. And the best way to do that, I have found, and so has many another person in recovery, is to do a goodbye letter. I'm sorry, I was looking at a question that somebody had texted me that concerned wondering why you have to hit rock bottom before you have a chance. The truth of the matter is, people, there are a ton of people that got sober before they hit rock bottom. The logical answer to that question, though, is this: why do you have to hit rock bottom before you get sober? Why is it that the last place that you look for something is where you find it? Because you stop looking once you get your keys, right? Okay, when you hit rock bottom, you very rarely have any other choice but to take a really good hard look at your life, right? When you hit that lowest point, when you are at the bottom, is usually when an addict will throw his hands in the air and say, I surrender, right? I have watched addicts do things that are so amazing. There's a clip of film on the internet. I'm not sure if you can still find it. I saw it years ago, but it was a gentleman who was able to escape from a work crew, right, at a county jail. And he took the police on a high-speed chase. He went into a cul-de-sac where he drove the stolen truck in circles, right, in the cul-de-sac, until one of his friends went up and threw a package through the window. This man was going to fix. That was the only goal he had. So he drove in circles in this truck using his knees so that he could cook up the dope, stick a needle in his arm, and get that last fix into him. Now, that's 4 more years of incarceration for escape so that he could stick a needle in his arm one more time. Make any sense to you? Of course not, right? It's absolutely ridiculous. And it's only one example of things that you would not believe, because rock bottom wasn't quite there yet, right? But I promise you, when that guy got in front of the judge and the judge gave him 4 more years for that fix, and then he realized a couple of days later, as the dope sick started to wear off, if that was the point of rock bottom, you get to a point as an addict or an alcoholic or whatever your drug of choice is, a drug addict, an alcoholic, even a gambler, whatever it is, you get to a point where you're so terrified of where you're at, right? That's usually rock bottom, where it's just so awful. I'm telling you, I hit rock bottom before I started climbing back out. I've told the story. I had just gotten stabbed. I was in solitary confinement, and I got a goodbye letter from the woman I was married to. I'm in there thinking it's like the scene from Tommy Boy where the bench breaks. He sits and talks about all the bad things happening, and the bench breaks, and he goes, "Could have done without that." I mean, that was me. I'm in a cell in solitary confinement. I had recently had a stroke, so I walked with a cane that they took away from me. I'm in there. I can't walk. I got 2 stab wounds, and the world was just sort of crumbling in around me. And mail call came, and I'm like, I got a letter from the wife. That'll cheer you up. And I opened it, and the opening line said, there's 2 million things that I would love to say to you. She didn't say any of them, people. She went with, but I think I'll just go with, I want a divorce. Could have done without that, right? That was rock bottom. And for me, the realization that it's all over. There's nobody to go home to. I'm sick, and where I'm at, there's no way I'm getting dope, right? Shy of trying to tunnel out of that bad boy to get to the yard in solitary confinement. They didn't even let porters, come into that part of the prison. There's no one smuggling anything into you. You're done. And I knew at that point I was going to get sober, whether I liked it or not. And I had done that, I don't know how many times in my life, but with the wife leaving and the stab wounds and all the things that were happening, I thought, this is it. It can't get any worse than this. And that moment of surrender where you just go, that's it, God, or that's it, universe, or that's it, whatever. I'm willing to do whatever at this point. I think that's the reason that so many people talk about hitting rock bottom before they get sober, but it is not a necessity by any stretch. You heard people already who have come on here and given their testimonials who were able to quit before, getting to that point. My partner here did not go to prison, right? Rare that is for an opiate addict to really, most opiate addicts decide to quit right around the time that they get incarcerated. Mark's story is very unique in that, he wasn't, he'll tell you he wasn't in tall cotton and living on top of the world, but he most assuredly was not at the rock bottom that most addicts describe and that you sort of conjure up in your head when you think rock bottom. The old cliche, it's you're going to end up in a hospital, a morgue, or in prison. And usually it's the hospital or prison that gets an opiate addict to really take a good hard look at their life. But it is not a necessity, people. And on that same kind of question, or that same kind of thought, nothing is etched in stone. There is no constant to any of this, other than the fact that it really it falls squarely on the shoulders of the person who's quitting. But why do you have to hit rock bottom before you quit? You don't have to. There are so many ways. Every person you meet will have a slightly different story for how they got sober. Every single person you meet. Even if you take 25 people who all say, yeah, I went to a 12-step program, they did not work the 12 steps the same way. Everybody, that's a program. The 12 steps is just a guideline, right, that has been put together so that you're actually working a program. If you're new to this channel and you just got to the boat, you can go back and listen to the steps that I worked. I did not work a 12-step program. I wrote my own, which is considered by most a cardinal sin. But there were parts of the 12-step program that just plain didn't work for me. And as opposed to, doing the, I'm going to go, no, I'm just going to pick and choose. There was parts of it I thought were genius. There were parts of it that I thought, absolutely, I need to do this in order to work this program. But if I got a sponsor, they weren't going to go, yeah, go ahead and skip number whatever. That's just not how it works. So I was blessed to have a gentleman by the name of Q that kind of worked me through it. And when I said, what about steps? He was like, yeah, write some. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, put together your own program. You think you need some steps to work? Write them down. I'm telling you right now, you want to, if you want to do you want to write your own program, absolutely write your own program. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as you get to the finish line, people, and you get to the finish line happy. You get to the finish line, not someone who's just chemical free, but someone who's living their best life, someone who is downright happy. Then who cares how you got there? You don't have to take Captain Tommy's version of that. And that isn't what we preach here. What we preach here is that you keep coming here and you're going to meet people who are going to impart wisdom on you. Everybody. The comment section is dripping with real life experiences of people who have managed to fight the good fight and win. Okay, so it's just a matter of finding that path, the path that is going to work for you. But if you think you're going to do it by just saying no more beer, I'm telling you, people, might get you off alcohol, but I don't think it's going to get you the long-term happy sobriety that you want. And that is the difference between just setting down the bottle and shoving all in and looking at every single aspect of your life and taking apart who you are, who you want to be, and putting it all back together so that you design the human being you hope to be. And before I open this up, people, to questions and everything else, the biggest benefit of doing it this way, of redesigning who you are, is when 2 to 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road, 5 years down the road, whenever it is that the weight and the guilt of what you have done in your past starts to come at you like a sledgehammer or a wrecking ball, the fact that you really have created a new human, that's what keeps me going, people. All of the things that I've done, that wasn't me. I don't care. You can say whatever you want to that, but it wasn't. If you talk to, I promise you, people, Jack really is coming on here. It's just a matter of time, but Jack's been busy, but I am getting him on here. And he'll tell you, if you met me today and you had known me from 10 years ago, you wouldn't realize I was the same person, not in any way. So for me, it's very easy to say to myself, the things that I did, they're mine. I owned them, but that person died with my addiction. I actually had to write something today. I was accepted into a college today, people, a university that I will be studying, going back and getting a master's degree in chemical dependency. I've told you all this before, but today I officially enrolled and did all of that. And unfortunately, right around the time I was ready to dot the I's and cross the T's, the question popped up: have you ever been convicted of a felony? And I thought, oh, Lord, like I didn't see this one coming. And I was in the unique position to say, yes, there have been many. In fact, I was doing it with a counselor that was helping me through the process that worked for the university. And, I said, do you just want greatest hits, or do you want me to, to list every one of these? Because you gave me 300 words, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to pull that off in 300 words. And at first she started laughing. I said, no, I'm dead serious. And she said, well, then maybe you want to list the bigger stuff. But I wrote on there. I realized that a lot of the things that you're going to read are going to make you think that maybe I'm not, the guy you want in here. But here's what I'm doing with my life now. Here's what I've dedicated my life to being. And I promise you that the person who robbed banks, ran guns, robbed things, that person died with the addiction. Plain and simple. That person died with the addiction. And the person that's filling out this app, I mean, the proof is that I'm filling out the app. Holy God, do you think Page 2 Tommy would be filling out an app to go to school? I mean, unless he was casing the joint, there's no chance I would have been anywhere near a school. It's just not something that logically would have been a part of my life. But yeah, for me, the real fringe benefit of redesigning your life is the ability to grapple with what you've done in the past. Because if you're just the same person, only you're not using, then it's very difficult to forgive yourself for what you've done. And you didn't make any changes. If you don't make any changes, people, you're going to be miserable. I think we all know someone like that, right? I promise you, we all know somebody like that. Don't be that person. All right, people, I do want to open this up to questions. Before I do, just one last shout out again, in case you didn't see the morning video. I want to give a big shout out to the people at Marfugal News for, giving us a platform to, Mark did a great interview over there. If you haven't seen it, shame on you, because it's a great interview. And he was given an opportunity at the end. He very politely asked, hey, would it be all right if I told you about my other channel, which was awesome. And they said, please, and then they were kind enough to then take that and put a link on it over on their website, which is just beyond kind. And a lot of you who are listening to me right now came over from Marfugal. If you haven't checked them out, people, go over there. As much as I badmouth news every single day, this isn't what I'm badmouthing. Go over there and check it out. I think you're going to dig it. I really do. And so thank you. And now, my favorite part of the show, people, I get to open my my cherry limeade beverage while my partner, takes it away. Right. Mark, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Hope everybody out there is doing good. I've been watching the chat there. You guys are having some really good conversation in there. It's yeah, I really like the chat tonight. It's pretty productive. You guys are in there doing your thing, just like always. But yeah, I would echo, one thing you said there that kind of, like myself, I never did have a rock bottom. And the main reason was because I have such a great support system. That is why, and like he was saying, and like Tommy was saying a minute ago, not everybody has that kind of stuff, and everybody needs it. You know what I'm saying? And that's why, again, you can come here and get some of that. But for me, no rock bottom, and it plays into what we talked about a video or two back about how we. Yeah, I lost my thought there. Sorry.
Happens to the best of us.
Oh, goodness gracious. But no, rock bottom is not something that you have to hit. And, it was like, you don't have to be, how can I put this? You don't have to be forced into this. You don't have to, any of that. You can choose, and you don't have to do it for yourself. That's what I was trying to say earlier. But hitting rock bottom, sometimes when you do that, you're still really not even doing that for yourself. You just don't have any other choice. And that's the thing. And let me tell you something. That's a good thing. Okay? Most of the time. It forces you to look at yourself 100% up and down. Most of us that are the addicts, we you walk by a mirror, you wouldn't even look in it because you were just so sick of seeing it.
Yep.
You can't lie to yourself. You can try, but it doesn't work. And that's what happens oftentimes. And and to hit rock bottom, I think everybody's rock bottom is different too. I guess when me and Tommy first started talking, I would we would talk about, hey, the Christian thing and the Bible and stuff like that. But I say that because everybody has their own moral lines that they won't cross no matter what. There's certain things that people will do and won't do just based on their personal belief system. They would rather die than do certain things. And, and what that does, at least in my head, it makes you think that, hey, well, that is why certain people have a different rock bottom. Because what's rock bottom for me may not be rock bottom for Captain. It may not be rock bottom for Leisure or Arizona. So, I would definitely, like you said, work your own program if you need to. Again, you're not going to hear that usually from any kind of professional, whatever. And I don't think it's so much that they don't believe that. It's just that they can't say that. Because if they say that, then they're making themselves liable and all these other kinds of things they're not allowed to do. But, again, we're not doctors. Tommy will be. He's getting him a master's, but, that is what it is. Hey, guys, is Tommy's picture stuck? This video stuck?
I hope not.
I could hear you, but hold on a minute. Okay, there you go. You're back. All right. It might have just been on my end. Sorry, guys. Sorry. That's probably me. I know we didn't lose audio, but yeah, we're good. Okay. But yeah, for me, you talked about like I told you guys a story about my wife. She knew exactly what I needed to hear when I was going into rehab. I was so afraid when I come out, nobody would be there. So my rock bottom actually came after I started to get help because I knew I was getting ready to walk back in that place and I didn't know what it was going to look like when I came back out. And that scared me more than anything. So, and again, I was a quote unquote functioning addict. I don't like using that word functioning because, obvious reasons, but that was me. I was doing life. Nobody even knew. And I'm not even kidding. When I say those things, I'm not kidding when I say nobody knew but probably my closest people, which would be my wife. My son knew because my idiot brain took him with me to buy pills. That's the only reason why he knew. It's certain things like that that stick in your head, and man, it takes time, guys. And I want to say something to Alfred, if he's still in here. He said he was 10 years sober. I just want to say congratulations on that. I don't think he's here, and I think he left. That was pretty early on when he was in here. If you're in here, Alfred, good job, bud. But just wanted to say that, and I really don't have much more to say on that end of it. And if you guys got some questions, please pop them in there. I know Swiss Vapor was wanting to make a comment. If you had something you wanted to say, Swiss, go ahead and throw it in there, and we'll voice it.
You know what? I think I got it.
Did you?
Yeah, I believe Swiss was talking about. So he had a meltdown today, and he was fortunate that he said he started cursing in Aussie, which is I don't know. There's something to that I find humorous. I'm not laughing at you, but there's something about cursing in Aussie that sort of cracks me up. But he said he was fortunate that his son was there to talk him down, and it's and keep him from going back to. He said he's blessed that he loves his family more than his old friend. Obviously referring to his DOC. And that's just really what we're talking about, people. It's talking about page one. You keep going back to the things that are more important than exactly what drives the addiction. And in this case, the love of his son, not only was able to talk him down and calm him down, but just as important, it was there to remind him that he loves him far more than he does his old buzz. And that is a beautiful thing. Clearly defining your why and clearly understanding the whys behind why you do not use is something that will always carry you through. He says, my son is 9. Vape, you got to love that, man. You have got to love that. First of all, I can't tell you how happy I am to see you on a live feed that we actually got to at the same time. Normally Vape shows up right around 3 minutes before it's off and he says, hey, Tommy, what time does this live feed end? Seems like we do that a lot, Vape. So I'm happy you're here, my brother, and I'm proud of you. I really am. That's taking this and working this. This is just what we're talking about. Having the tools in place and doing the right thing. Time and time again. I'm proud of you, man. I really am. Another one that a couple of things. First of all, Brandon, 16 days, brother. Brandon is still doing the right thing every day, man. Fighting the good fight. That's right. Brandon, I love you, my brother. We're proud of you. Everybody is. Make no mistake. We are proud of you.
I wanted to say hi to Sarah. Thanks for stopping in and come back whenever you're ready.
Would that be Sarah Norley?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I was actually had that down on the list as well. I don't think I've ever had an opportunity to welcome you to the boat, and we would love to see more of you. We're here every day. You come around this time every single day, and tomorrow, if you've not seen us do, one of our interviews, gives you an opportunity to see people on the boat and how they are doing, fighting the good fight. Tomorrow's going to be a great one for that, people.
Yeah, also, Swiss. That's an interesting, side thing to talk about. Swiss says we got Asperger's. That adds a little bit more complication to all of that. That is a little bit more of a struggle,
and it's it's hard in a sentence to to understand because of the wide spectrum. For Asperger's, there are it really people it comes in about 14 different flavors and sizes, so to speak. But all of them are a challenge. And you're right. People with, if anyone listening is unfamiliar with that, it's it's on the autism spectral disorder. And it's one of the things that, really, it allows people to do some really amazing things. They're usually very, very, Sarah said she could use some prayers. I didn't mean to squirrel. They usually are very, very gifted and talented in some areas, more so than the average person. Your brain is working amazingly, doing so many things. But sometimes the challenge becomes not in IQ, intelligent quotient, but more in EQ, which is your emotional quotient. And oftentimes that's where the challenge lies, which would probably be why these meltdowns, occur for him more often than not. But doing the right thing, just doing the right thing, and it's paying off. Yep. You got through it. Your son was there to help you and to calm you down, and that's just, that is absolutely beautiful. Sarah. Absolutely. We'll keep you in our thoughts and prayers. It is what we do. It's a big part of our show. We are not a religious program, but we absolutely like to send out positive energy for those who believe in that, and the thoughts and prayers for those who believe in thoughts and prayers as I do. Sarah, if you want to reach out to CaptainTommyScoville@gmail.com, you want to give us any more specifics, on or off the air, you can reach out and do that. That is in the drop-down box as well, if you can't remember it. Although I wear the hat of Tommy Scoville, Captain Tommy Scoville at Gmail. Pamela Swan is going through it. Pam is in very serious pain, and you know what, people? Pain is just such a driving force in so many people's lives when it comes to addiction. It was what started me down the road to becoming the opiate addict that I was. But thoughts and prayers are with you, Pamela. Again, I will ask you or tell you the same thing. If you would like to reach out and send me an email with any more details than that, you can feel free to do that. Not something you're comfortable with, don't. But I just want you to know, people, if you're hearing the sound of my voice and you want to, to get more details out so that maybe there's some things we can talk about more specifically to your case, keep this in mind, people, that there's about 1,800 and what do we have, 20, something like that today. When we started this program, there was about 1,820 crew members. So a great deal of what I do, a great deal of what Mark does, when we come here and we speak to you, we do it in generalities, and it kind of has to be that way. You understand? That does not mean that I am not quite willing to talk to individuals about what is specifically going on in their lives. And you're at a great place right now if that's something you're interested in, because I promise you, people, the day is going to come where that's going to be really hard, and it's going to be limited with how many people that we can do that with. As of right now, I usually can take a little time for everyone. If you would like to reach out and tell us a little bit more so that you can get some more personalized advice, I'm Captain Tommy Scoville at gmail.com, and this is what I do. So please do not hesitate to reach out. Speaking of which,
and Fi posted the Facebook link in there also.
Thank you, Fiona. Really appreciate that. Fiona's great. She's always there to make sure that the things I forget, she tends not to, which is a beautiful thing. Yesterday I had everybody praying for Kathy. She went in for her surgery. Kathy's doing well. There may be a procedure that she needs in the future. She would like us to keep her in our thoughts and prayers. And if you bust over to the Lifeboat Live, there's also a chat that has started to really become popular over there. All you got to do is reach out to Mr. Flaming Jackson, and he will get you invited into that so that you can have one more avenue of places where you can meet with people on the boat. I would greatly recommend that to everybody. It's a pretty good deal. Yep. Jesse Brown. Okay.
So if you guys got any questions, pop them in there. We got a couple more minutes before we're in the stream. Cool. We'll look forward to see you, Sarah.
I'm sorry here, people. Okay. I started to do the squirrel thing because there was a question that I saw that I absolutely loved. And I thought, this is a question that probably everybody here could benefit if I answered. And then, as so often happens, I saw something shiny. And you know how that can, I have been known from time to time to do the squirrel thing. Squirrel. Oh, I knew what I was going to say. See that? Occasionally it happens. I was going to say, as I said, people, you can reach out and send me an email. I would like to say a shout out to DJ Daddy O. Let me tell you something. This is a brother of mine on the lifeboat. I hate to put the man on blast for being ancient, but he's the same age as me. And so we have our life experience. Graduated the same year in high school. That was last century. I was going to say toward the end of last century, but I guess it really isn't even all that close to the end of last century. Anyway, we just there's a lot of similarities, a lot of differences, but a lot of similarities, especially in the era that we grew up in. We grew up at the exact same time. But he reached out to me, sent me a couple of emails, and they just people. I can't tell you how much I love it. Whether you believe it or not, it's amazing. I've said this before. I don't think I ever get an email that doesn't start with an apology. I promise. If I showed you 250 of them, Every single email says, hey, I'm really sorry to bother you. People, I'm not a carpenter who tells you that I'll give advice to people who are trying to get sober, right? I'm not for real, I'm not a cabinet maker who says, hey, you know, I might be able to help you out a little bit with your sobriety, but don't call too often. People, this is what I'm doing, right? This is what I want to do with the rest of my life. Please feel free to reach out. Tell me who you are. If you're just getting to the boat, give me an idea of who you are. See, now when the names scroll up on the screen and I see DJ Daddy-O, I know who that is. I know his real name. I know his family. I know how many kids he's got. I know the fact that he likes to hunt. I know where he's from. And it really does. It brings all of us closer. And look, I'm honest with people. If it gets to a point where I can't, get back to you, or for whatever reason, you'll hear it. You do not have to feel like, I'm not the president, people. I'm not the Pope. I promise you, I'm not the busiest person on the planet yet. So
well, congrats,
while we still
Swiss.
have the opportunity. What's that?
I was telling Swiss Vapor, congrats on the 2 years sober.
That's huge, man.
Yep.
That is absolutely huge. And Pamela says she's been clean for a long time and it came out of nowhere. I wish I knew exactly what had come out of nowhere.
You might not want to know the answer to that question. I'm just kidding.
Right. She says, I feel better already admitting this. People, what have we said?
Yep.
Pamela, thank you. I hate to use you as an example again, but I'm telling you, people, knowing that you're in the same boat, knowing that there are people here that can listen to you who are never going to judge you for anything. This is a judgment-free zone, right? Nobody gets judged on this boat. If somebody starts judging you, one of these beautiful people with a wrench is going to make that person go away. I promise you, because it's just not something that we allow here. The nature of what it is that we do is to support one another. Ooh, Joe Birdwell is leaving. Tomorrow, Joe Birdwell, we will be doing our interview. I'm so excited for that, people.
Thanks for the super chats, Joe.
Yeah, if you didn't see Joe Birdwell's initial interview with us here on the Lifeboat, see it before tomorrow night, because you will lack all kinds of perspective on exactly what's going on. He was the first interview that we ever did. Normally we interviewed people who have a lot of sobriety, people that have been sober, 5 years, a decade, or whatever, who may have some, some knowledge that they can impart. I think it was Mark's idea. I don't think it was mine, but it was a great idea to put somebody on the channel that, so that we're actually experiencing it with them. And this was a guy that was brand new sober, but the story touched people all over the world. I honestly have had people on 3 continents tell me, just how amazing that story was and how much it touched their life. Pamela says this really is a safe place. And Harper's mama said, I still need to email you. You do. I'm not mad at you, but you do need to email me, and I've been looking for it. So Captain Tommy Scoville at gmail.com. Really look forward to talking to you. So whenever you feel like you can do it, please shoot me an email.
Yep.
Okay. All right, people. Let me see if I'm missing anything huge. I probably should say, I love you, Charlie Mullins, because I just don't get a chance to say that often enough. And he does suggest that we say that each and every day, does he not? I think yes. Every day. And C.W. Terry, I don't know that I have ever officially had an opportunity to say welcome to the Lifeboat. We're glad to have you aboard. I saw you yesterday, I believe.
My channel.
That you had just been accepted onto the Facebook Lifeboat.
Yep.
And I looked and thought, that name does not seem familiar. I love that. Anytime I see a name that does not seem familiar. But,
CW
maybe
is
I thought it did, but great to have you here. It really is.
CW is a longtime supporter on my channel. He's a good guy.
We're not going to hold that against him.
Well, you should.
No, we're happy to have you.
Yeah.
We'd be lost without the people from
He's
awesome. World.
Awesome person, I'm telling you.
Excellent. We're really happy to have you. Welcome aboard, my friend. So that does bring us up right to the 1 hour mark. People, please let me say 1 or 2 things before we go. I would encourage you to tune in every morning. The videos that I do in the morning for better or for worse. The purpose of that video is to focus the addict's attention each morning on the goal. Plain and simple. It takes about 5 to 8 minutes a day, but it is something that is part of this program that we're talking about. If there's something that you do a couple of times a day, every day for the rest of your life, it will change who you are. I promise you. So as long as we're talking about trying to change our lives and trying to get sober and trying to create a program, you're here on the boat. Pop in tomorrow morning. Don't make me put up a questionable title like I quit. I'm kidding, people. That really was an important title. But regardless of what it says tomorrow, if it says I'm never quitting or going anywhere, please check out that video. Start your day right. And we will see you here tomorrow night for the interview of the week. I'm really excited about this one. I know that my partner is. Between now and tomorrow, we want you to reach out there and save somebody. I am Captain Tommy Scoville, and on the other side of the glass is...
That's Mr. Mark Wages.
That's Mr. Mark Wages. Tomorrow in the morning, between now and then, reach out, try to save somebody. Thanks, everyone.